Mom said, "We can't make it for my MBA graduation." Hours later, I saw them on Instagram celebrating my sister's Walmart promotion. So I canceled the rent I'd paid for 4 years and texted, "Let her pay it." By morning, 94 missed calls. 3 years of late nights, early mornings, and sacrificed weekends had all led to one morning. 3 years of working full-time while earning my MBA. 3 years of turning down social events, missing trips, living on coffee, and pushing myself through exhaustion, because I believed the work would matter in the end. It all came down to Saturday, May 18th at 10 a.m., the graduation ceremony at the University Pavilion. I had sent my parents the date 6 months earlier. I had reminded them 3 months earlier. I had sent another reminder a month before. I had called them 2 weeks before the ceremony just to confirm. My mother told me they would be there. She said they would not miss it for the world. That was 2 weeks before graduation. On Friday night, the night before the ceremony, I texted the family group chat. I told them graduation was the next morning at 10 o'clock and that I could not wait to see everyone there. I reminded them that I had reserved seats in Section B. My dad responded that he was looking forward to it and that he was proud of me. My younger sister Emily sent a thumbs up emoji. My mom hearted the message. I went to bed feeling nervous, but good. My family would be there. After 3 years of grinding, after being told I was crazy for going back to school at 28, after hearing that an MBA was not worth it and that I was fine where I already was, they would be there to watch me walk across that stage. I woke up Saturday morning at 7 a.m. I showered, put on my suit under my gown, checked my cap in the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, I felt proud. I had done it. I had worked 50 hours a week. I had given up almost everything outside work and school. I had pushed through doubt, fatigue, and people telling me I was wasting my time and money. But I had actually finished. My phone buzzed at 8:15 a.m. I was already in my car halfway to campus. The text was from my mother. She told me she was so sorry, but something had come up and they could not make it that day. I read the text 3 times while sitting at a red light. They could not make it. Something had come up. The light turned green. Someone behind me honked. I drove forward on autopilot and pulled into a gas station parking lot. I called my mother. It went to voicemail. I called my father. Voicemail. I texted the family chat and asked what she meant by "they could not make it" because the ceremony started in an hour and a half. No one responded. I sat there in my graduation gown outside a Shell station and something cold settled in my chest. They were not coming. After 3 years, after all the reminders, after telling me they would not miss it for the world, they were not coming. For a few minutes, I wanted to drive home and skip the ceremony entirely. I wondered what the point was of walking across a stage if no one was there to see it. But I had worked too hard and sacrificed too much to let their absence take that moment from me. So I drove to campus. I parked. I walked to the pavilion. I found my seat in the sea of graduates. Around me, families were arriving. Parents were taking photos. Siblings were hugging graduates. Grandparents were holding cameras. Everyone seemed to have someone. I sat alone and pretended to check my phone. The ceremony started at 10:03 a.m. The dean spoke about achievement, perseverance, and the future. I heard maybe half of it. The other half of my attention was on the crowd. I kept scanning faces and hoping maybe my family would show up late. Maybe "we can't make it" really meant they were running behind. Maybe they would slip into the reserved seats after all. They never came. They called my name at 11:47 a.m. Daniel Foster, Master of Business Administration, Finance Concentration, summa cum laude. I walked across the stage. I shook the dean's hand. I accepted my diploma. I smiled for the official photographer. The audience clapped politely, the way they clapped for everyone. No one stood up. No one cheered. No one called my name. I walked back to my seat and sat down. Around me, other graduates were getting standing ovations. Families were screaming names, blowing air horns, and throwing kisses. One guy's entire extended family rushed the stage afterward for photos. I sat there with my diploma in my lap and felt nothing. The ceremony ended at 1:15 p.m. Families flooded onto the field. Photos were everywhere. Graduates were crying, hugging their parents, celebrating. I took one selfie with my diploma and posted it to Instagram with a simple caption saying that my MBA was done, summa cum laude, and 3 years of work were finally complete. Then I walked to my car and drove home. My phone stayed quiet the entire drive. No calls, no texts, no congratulations, no apology, no explanation, nothing. I got home at 2:30 p.m. I changed out of my gown, sat on my couch in my empty apartment, and stared at my diploma. Master of Business Administration, summa cum laude, top 5% of my class. It felt worthless if no one cared. I opened Instagram because I thought maybe friends or colleagues had commented. I had a few notifications. Some coworkers had liked my post. A couple of people had congratulated me. Then I saw my mother's post from 45 minutes earlier. It was a photo of my entire family at a restaurant. My mom, my dad, Emily, and Emily's boyfriend Jake were all dressed up and smiling. There were balloons in the background. A cake sat on the table with "Congratulations, Emily" written in frosting. The caption said they were having a family dinner to celebrate Emily's big promotion and that they were so proud of their girl for becoming shift supervisor at Walmart. My mother ended it with, "Hard work pays off." I stared at the photo. They were not at my graduation because they were at Olive Garden celebrating Emily's promotion to shift supervisor at Walmart. I scrolled through the comments. Aunts and uncles congratulated Emily. Family friends wrote that my parents must be so proud. Emily responded with heart emojis and thank yous. The post had 73 likes. My graduation post had 12. I looked at the timestamp. It had been posted at 1:32 p.m., right around when my ceremony was ending. They had not just skipped my graduation. They had planned this. The restaurant reservation, the cake, the balloons. It was not something came up. It was scheduled, organized, chosen. They chose Emily's Walmart promotion over my MBA graduation. I set my phone down, carefully stood up, walked to my kitchen, opened the cabinet under the sink where I kept my files, and found the folder labeled Parents' Rent. I had been paying my parents' rent for 4 years. It started when I was 25. My dad had lost his job and they were about to lose their apartment. I was making decent money at my job and had some savings. They needed help. My mom said it would only be for a few months, just until my dad found something new. My dad found a new job 3 months later, but the rent payments never stopped. At first they said they needed time to get back on their feet. Then Emily's car needed repairs. Then there were medical bills. Then it simply became expected. $1,500 a month. Automatic transfer. The first of every month. 54 months. I did the math on my phone calculator. $81,000. I had given my parents $81,000 over 4 years, and they could not come to my graduation because they were celebrating Emily's shift supervisor promotion at Walmart. I opened my banking app. I found the automatic payment that was scheduled to process in 3 days on June 1st. I canceled it. Then I opened my text messages. I looked at my mother's text from that morning, the one saying something had come up and they could not make it. I looked again at her Instagram post with the whole family smiling around Emily's cake. I started typing. I congratulated them on Emily's promotion. I told them that a shift supervisor position at Walmart was clearly worth missing their son's MBA graduation for. I told them I was sure the extra $2 an hour would really help the family. Then I said that speaking of helping the family, I had canceled the automatic rent payment. After 4 years and $81,000, I thought it was time Emily contributed with her big promotion. I told them that between her new supervisor wages and all the pride they had in her, they would figure it out. I ended it by telling them to enjoy the cake. I read it 3 times. I edited it once to add the dollar amount because I wanted them to see it. I wanted them to understand exactly what they had taken for granted. Then I hit send. I sent it to the family group chat. My mother, my father, Emily, all of them. Then I did something I had never done before. I blocked all 3 of them. I did not mute them. I blocked them. I did not want to see the responses. I did not want the excuses, guilt trips, or accusations that I was being dramatic or vindictive or cruel. I just wanted silence. I set my phone face down on the coffee table, looked at the diploma I had already hung on the wall, and waited to feel something other than empty. It took about 20 minutes. Then I felt it. Not sadness, not anger, relief. I had been carrying them for 4 years, financially, emotionally. I had always been the reliable one, the one who helped, the one who never complained, and I had just set them down. My phone buzzed on the table, once, twice, 3 times, then 4 times. Even blocked, I could see the screen lighting up with notifications, and calls coming through as blocked numbers. I turned the phone off entirely. I made myself dinner, leftover pasta from Thursday, and ate it while watching a show I had been meaning to catch up on. My diploma hung on the wall behind my TV, summa cum laude, worth more than a Walmart promotion whether they understood that or not. And if they could not see that, if they could not be bothered to show up, if they could not prioritize my achievement over Emily's incremental raise, then they could figure out their own rent. I went to bed at 10 p.m. with my phone still off, feeling lighter than I had in years. I did not know about the 94 missed calls yet. That discovery would wait until morning. But that night, for the first time in 4 years, I slept knowing I was not responsible for anyone but myself. And it felt good. really good. I woke up Sunday morning at 8 a.m. feeling strangely rested. For a moment lying there in bed, I had forgotten everything. Then it came back in waves. The graduation, the empty seats, the Instagram post, the text I had sent, blocking everyone. My phone was still off. I got up, made coffee, sat on my couch with my diploma still hanging on the wall, and thought about turning my phone back on. Part of me did not want to. I wanted to stay in the bubble where I had finally set a boundary and did not have to deal with the fallout. But another part of me was curious. Had they responded? Were they angry? Were they apologetic? Did they even care? At 8:47 a.m., I turned my phone on. It took about 30 seconds to boot up. Then the notifications started rolling in. 127 unread text messages, 94 missed calls, 22 voicemails, 15 Instagram DMs, 8 Facebook messages. I stared at the numbers. 94 calls. I opened my call log where the block numbers still showed. The calls had started at 3:17 p.m. the day before, about 20 minutes after I had sent the text and blocked them. My mother had called 31 times. My father had called 28 times. Emily had called 19 times. 16 calls came from unknown numbers that were probably their friends' phones. The last call had come in at 2:43 a.m. Someone had called me at nearly 3 in the morning. I opened my text messages knowing most of them would not show because they had been blocked. But I could see the voicemail transcriptions. The first voicemail from my mother was at 3:42 p.m. the day before. She demanded to know what I was talking about and told me to call her back right away. She said it was ridiculous and that I could not just cancel the rent payment. The fifth voicemail was from my father at 5:18 p.m. He told me he did not know what had gotten into me, but that this was not how they had raised me to act. He said we needed to talk and that my mother was very upset. The 12th voicemail was from Emily at 7:33 p.m. She asked what the heck was going on. She said mom was freaking out and told me to call her back because this was crazy. The 18th voicemail was from my mother at 11:04 p.m. She used my full name, Daniel Robert Foster, and told me to answer the phone immediately. She said rent was due in 3 days, that they did not have it, and that I was putting my family on the street. She asked if that was what I wanted. The last voicemail was from my father at 2:41 a.m. He asked me to call back and said we should talk about it like adults. I sat there with my coffee getting cold, reading transcriptions of increasingly desperate voicemails. Not one of them mentioned my graduation. Not one of them said they were sorry they missed it. Not one of them admitted they should have been there. It was all panic about the rent money. I deleted all the voicemails without listening to them. Then I unblocked everyone long enough to see what they had actually texted me. The messages flooded in. My mother asked what my text was about and told me to call her immediately. Then she said it was not funny and that they needed that rent payment. My father said my mother had shown him my text and that I was completely out of line. Emily asked if I was seriously so mad about graduation that I was going to make mom and dad homeless. My mother said she did not understand where this was coming from and insisted they had always been there for me. My father said they were trying to reach me and begged me to pick up. Emily said mom was crying and hoped I was happy. My mother said that after everything they had done for me, after raising me and supporting me, this was how I repaid them. My father said the landlord had called and that rent was due Wednesday. My mother said I was going to ruin them over one missed event and called me selfish. Emily said I had always been jealous of her and that this proved it. The messages continued through the night. They got more desperate, more accusatory, and more guilt-laden. Not once did anyone say they were sorry. I made a fresh cup of coffee and started typing a response. Then I deleted it. I started again and deleted it again. Finally, I wrote something simple. I told them I had paid $81,000 over 4 years. I reminded them that they had missed my MBA graduation, summa cum laude, to celebrate Emily's Walmart shift supervisor promotion at Olive Garden. I told them they had chosen. Now they could deal with the consequences of that choice. I sent it to the family group chat. I watched the delivered status change to read. Almost immediately, the typing indicators appeared. All 3 of them were typing at once. My mother asked how I dared throw money in their faces. She said they had needed the help and that I had offered. I told her I had offered temporary help during an emergency, not a permanent 4-year payment plan. My father said they had been struggling and that I knew that. I told him they were struggling enough to skip my graduation, but apparently not struggling enough to skip a celebration dinner with balloons and cake. Emily said her promotion was important. I told her my graduation was important too, but apparently less important than her $2 raise. My mother said this was not about the graduation. She said I was being vindictive because I had always resented Emily's success. I stopped typing and read that message 3 times. I had always resented Emily's success. I opened my photos and scrolled back through the years. Emily's high school graduation. The entire family had been there, a huge party afterward. It probably cost $3,000. My high school graduation. The family came and we had dinner at Applebee's, maybe $150. Emily's community college associate degree. Family brunch gifts Facebook posts. My bachelor's degree. A card with $50 and a text saying they were proud of me. Emily's first job at Walmart. Celebration dinner. My mother posted about it on Facebook for a week. My first salary position at a financial firm. My mother said that was nice. Emily's car breaking down. I was asked to loan her $2,000 and she never paid me back. My car breaking down. I was told to just Uber. 4 years of paying their rent. Expected, never questioned. 1 month of not paying their rent. Family emergency. How could I do this? I was destroying them. I looked at the pattern laid out in my camera roll, in my memory, in every interaction we had ever had. And I understood something I had been avoiding for years. I was not the son. I was the bank account. Emily was not just the golden child, she was the child. The only one they actually saw as family. I was the responsible one, the reliable one. The one who made good money and did not need attention, praise, or celebration. The one who could be counted on to send money, not complain, and definitely not have feelings about being second best his entire life. My phone buzzed. My mother was calling. I answered and put it on speaker. She sounded sharp and angry. She told me they had been trying to reach me for 24 hours. I told her I knew. I had my phone off. She asked if I had any idea what I had done and what stress I had caused. I asked if she had any idea what she had done. She said they had missed my graduation because they could not make it. She told me something had come up. I told her I had seen the Instagram post. I knew they had been at Olive Garden with balloons and a cake celebrating Emily's promotion. There was silence. Then she said that dinner had been planned weeks ago, defensively, as if that made it better. I told her my graduation had also been planned weeks ago. I had told her 6 months earlier. I had reminded her multiple times. She had confirmed 2 weeks before. She said Emily's promotion was important. I told her Emily had become a shift supervisor at Walmart. I had gotten my MBA summa cum laude after 3 years of working full-time while going to school. And she had chosen Olive Garden. She told me I was being dramatic. I told her I was being clear. She had made a choice and I was making one too. She accused me of cutting them off financially and trying to get them evicted. I told her I was stopping a payment that was supposed to be temporary 4 years ago. They were not being evicted. They just had to figure out their own rent for once. She said they could not afford it without my help. I told her Emily could contribute with her promotion, or they could downsize, or my dad could pick up extra hours. Those were their options. I was not one of them anymore. My mother started again with, "After everything we've done for you," and I interrupted her. I asked her to name one thing she had done for me in the last 4 years that did not involve me giving her money. Silence. I told her I would wait. She said they had raised me, fed me, and put a roof over my head. I told her that was called being a parent. That was the baseline. I was asking what they had done since I became an adult, since I started paying their rent. More silence. I asked if they had ever been to my apartment, the one I had lived in for 3 years. No answer. I asked if they had asked about my job, my life, anything that was not followed by asking for money or comparing me to Emily. My mother said that was not fair, but her voice wavered. I told her what was not fair was missing her son's graduation for a shift supervisor promotion. What was not fair was taking $81,000 and acting entitled to more. What was not fair was calling me vindictive for finally saying no. I heard my father's voice in the background. He wanted to talk to me. The phone shuffled. Then my father's tired voice came through. He said he understood that I was upset. I asked if he did. He said I could not just abandon my family because of one missed event. One missed event. That was what he called it. He said it was a graduation and that I still got my degree. I told him it was the culmination of 3 years of work. It was important to me. He knew that and he chose not to come. He said they had Emily's celebration. I told him that was the point. Emily was more important. She always had been. Her achievements, her needs, her life. I was just the ATM who occasionally required acknowledgement. He said that was not true. I asked him why he missed it. I told him to give me the real reason, not something came up. The real reason. There was a long pause. Finally, he said, Emily really wanted them all there for her dinner. There it was. I told him they chose. He said they thought I would understand. I was successful. I did not need the validation the way Emily did. I told him I was successful because I worked for it. I was successful because I did not have parents paying my way or celebrating every small achievement. But apparently, that meant I did not deserve celebration at all. He said they were proud of me, but it sounded hollow. I told him he was proud of my bank account. There was a difference. I hung up. I blocked them again. Then I sat there in my apartment with my coffee, my diploma, and my phone that would probably start buzzing again any second. But this time, I would not see it because I was done. I was done being the reliable one who got nothing in return. I was done being the son who supposedly did not need attention because he was already successful. I was done funding their life while they celebrated my sister's. The rent was due in 3 days. They would figure it out. Or they would not. Either way, it was not my problem anymore, and that realization felt better than any congratulations they could have given me. Wednesday arrived, rent day. I woke up knowing exactly what was happening 3 towns over. My parents were probably scrambling, checking their bank account, hoping maybe I had changed my mind, then realizing I had not. I went to work like normal. I sat through meetings, reviewed financial reports, and had lunch with a colleague who asked how graduation had gone. I told him it was good, and that I was glad it was over. I did not mention the empty seats, the Instagram post, or the 94 calls. I just smiled and changed the subject. My phone stayed quiet all morning. I had unblocked my family briefly on Tuesday night just to see if there was anything worth reading. There was not. More accusations, more guilt trips, more messages asking how I could do this to them. I blocked them again and slept fine. At 2:47 p.m., my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. A professional woman's voice asked if she was speaking to Daniel Foster. I said yes. She introduced herself as Patricia Chin from Riverside Property Management. She said she was the landlord for the property at 847 Oakmont Avenue, Unit 3B. My parents, Robert and Linda Foster, had listed me as an emergency contact and financial reference. I closed my office door and told her, okay. She explained that rent was due that day and had not been received. She had tried reaching my parents multiple times, but they had not responded. Since I had made payments on their behalf in the past, she wanted to reach out directly. I told her I was no longer making those payments. There was a pause. She asked when that had changed. I told her the automatic transfer had been canceled as of that month. She said she understood, and I heard papers rustling. Then she asked if my parents were aware. I told her they were very aware. She asked if I knew whether they had the funds to cover that month's rent. It was $1,500 due that day. I told her I did not know their financial situation and that she would have to ask them. She said she had tried, but they were not answering her calls. Of course they were not. They were probably still calling me from other people's phones. I apologized and told her I could not help. I said I was no longer involved in their rental arrangement. She said she understood and appreciated me clarifying. Then for her records, she asked why I had stopped making payments. I told her it was personal, a family matter. She thanked me for my time and hung up. I sat there in my closed office staring at my computer screen. They had not paid. They were screening the landlord's calls. They probably did not have the $1,500. Good. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I did not recognize. It was my Aunt Carol, my mother's sister, telling me my mother had called her in tears and asking what was going on. She wanted to know why I would not help my parents. I stared at the text. Aunt Carol always took my mother's side in everything. I typed back and asked if my mother had told her that she skipped my MBA graduation to celebrate Emily's Walmart promotion. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Aunt Carol said my mother told her there had been a scheduling conflict. I told her there had not been. My mother had chosen. Then I told her to look at my mother's Instagram from Saturday. The dots disappeared and did not come back. 10 minutes later, my cousin Jessica texted me. She asked what was happening and said her mom had shown her Aunt Linda's Instagram. She asked if it was real. I told her it was very real. She asked if they had actually skipped my graduation for that. I told her yes. She said it was messed up. I agreed. Then she told me that for what it was worth, congratulations on the MBA. She said summa cum laude was huge. I smiled at my phone and thanked her. She told me her mother was calling Aunt Linda now and said it should be interesting. Over the next hour, I got texts from 3 more relatives. Uncle Mark, Cousin David, my grandmother. All of them had been told some version of Daniel being unreasonable or Daniel cutting his parents off over nothing. All of them had now seen the Instagram post. The narrative was shifting. I could feel it. At 5:30 p.m., Emily called from another unknown number. I answered and told her to stop calling from random numbers. She said I had blocked them and asked what she was supposed to do. I told her not to call me. She begged me to listen. She said mom and dad were freaking out, that the landlord was threatening eviction, and that they did not have the money. I told her it was not my problem. She asked how I could say that because they were our parents. I told her they were her parents, the ones who came to her celebration. Mine apparently had a scheduling conflict. She said it was not like that. I asked her what it was like then. I asked her to explain how it was not exactly choosing her $2 raise over my 3 years of grad school. Silence. Then she said quietly that she had not asked them to skip my graduation. I asked if she knew they were doing it. More silence. I told her she knew. She knew they were not going to my graduation because they were coming to her dinner, and she did not say anything. She said she thought I would understand because I was always so independent and did not need them the way she did. I told her that was exactly what Dad had said, almost word for word, like they had all discussed it. She started to say they just thought, and I finished it for her. They thought I would not care because I never complained, because I just paid their rent, showed up to holidays, and did not make waves. So why would I care about one little graduation? She told me not to put this on her and said this was between me and them. I told her no, it was between all of us. She benefited from them prioritizing her. She always had, and she had never once questioned it or felt bad about it because she believed she deserved it. She said she worked hard. I told her I worked hard too. I worked full-time and got an MBA at the same time. I told her she knew that was harder than becoming a shift supervisor at Walmart, but somehow her achievement was worth a family celebration, and mine was not worth showing up for. I heard her crying. Part of me felt bad. The other part, the part that had sat alone at graduation while everyone else had families cheering for them, felt nothing. She asked what I wanted her to do. I told her to help with the rent. She had a promotion. She could contribute to the household she was so worried about. She said she did not make enough. I told her she made enough to go out for celebration dinners. She made enough for cake and balloons. She made enough to help with $300 toward rent, 20%. Emily could pay 20% and they could figure out the rest. It seemed fair since she was the one they prioritized. She said that was not fair. I told her what was not fair was paying $81,000 over 4 years and getting nothing but taken for granted. What was not fair was them missing my graduation. What was not fair was her calling me only to guilt me into resuming payments instead of calling to apologize. She said she had not known it mattered that much to me. I asked how she could not know. How could any of them not know that a master's degree graduation would matter? She had no answer. I told her I had to go, then wished her good luck with the rent. I hung up and blocked that number too. Then I went home, made dinner, watched TV, and slept fine. Thursday morning, I got an email from my mother because apparently I had not blocked that yet. The subject asked me to please read it. She wrote that she did not know what else to say. She said they were sorry they missed my graduation and admitted they had made a mistake, but then said I was punishing them for one error by destroying their lives. She said the landlord had given them until Monday to pay or eviction proceedings would begin. She said they did not have the money. My father was picking up extra shifts, but it would not be enough in time. Emily was trying to help, but she barely made anything. My mother wrote that they had nobody else to turn to and begged me to help. She said they were my parents, that they had made a mistake, but they did not deserve this. Then she wrote that if I ever loved them, I would help them one more time. I read it twice. If you ever loved us. There it was, the ultimate guilt trip, the weapon of last resort. I hit reply. I told my mother she had not made one error. She had made a choice. She had planned Emily's celebration dinner weeks in advance. She had confirmed she would be at my graduation 2 weeks before. Then she had chosen the dinner. That was not a mistake. That was a decision. I told her she chose Emily's Walmart promotion over my MBA. She chose Olive Garden over being there for her son's biggest achievement. She could call it one error. I called it the final proof of something I had known for years. I mattered less. I told her I did not matter less because I was more successful or more independent. I mattered less because she had decided I did, and I was done accepting that. I told her that if she wanted help, she could ask Emily. She could ask the daughter she prioritized. She could ask the child she actually celebrated. I told her I was not her ATM anymore. I was not her backup plan. I was not the son who existed to fund her life while she ignored mine. I told her I had loved them. I had loved them enough to pay their rent for 4 years without complaint. I had loved them enough to keep showing up to family dinners where I was an afterthought. I had loved them enough to believe, we're proud of you, even though they never showed it. But love was not supposed to be one-sided. I was done being the only one trying. I ended by telling her the rent was her problem and that she needed to figure it out. Then I signed it with my name and sent it.
I blocked her email address.
Then I blocked my father's preemptively. After that, I did something I had been putting off. I called my HR department and told them I needed to update my emergency contacts and beneficiary information. I removed my parents. I removed Emily. I listed my cousin Jessica instead, the one person who had actually congratulated me. I changed the beneficiaries on my 401k and life insurance. Everything that had been split between my parents now went to a charity, the local literacy foundation. If I died tomorrow, they would not see a cent. That thought made me smile. On Friday afternoon, Jessica texted me. She said Aunt Linda had called her mom again and apparently claimed my email had broken her heart. I said, good. Jessica told me her mom had said Aunt Linda needed to apologize for real, not just because she needed money. I asked if she had. Jessica said no. My mother had doubled down and said I was breaking up the family over one missed event. I said that was also good. Jessica said Grandma had called too and wanted to talk to me. I thought about that. Grandma was tough but fair. She had always been kind to me. I told Jessica I might call her next week. Jessica told me Grandma wanted her to tell me she was proud of me. She said getting an MBA at my age while working full-time was impressive. I stared at that text and read it 3 times. I thanked Jessica. Then, Jessica added that Grandma said my mom had always been like this with Aunt Carol, too. She played favorites and never changed. That tracked. The weekend passed quietly. I went hiking, read a book, ordered pizza, and lived my life. I did not think about the rent. I did not think about whether they had paid. I did not think about eviction notices, desperate calls, or guilt trips. For the first time in 4 years, their problems were not my problems. On Sunday night, lying in bed and looking at my diploma on the wall, I realized something. I did not miss them. I did not miss the calls. I did not miss the texts. I did not miss the family dinners where I was background noise. I missed who I thought they were. I missed who I wanted them to be. But the people they actually were, the people who skipped my graduation, took $81,000 and acted entitled to more. Those people I did not miss at all. And that was the most freeing realization of my life. 3 weeks passed. I did not reach out. They did not reach out. At first, the silence was loud. Then it became comfortable. Then it became normal. Work kept me busy. 2 weeks after graduation, I had been promoted. My boss noticed my MBA and moved me into a senior analyst position with a $20,000 raise. Nobody at work knew about the family drama. Nobody knew I had spent graduation alone. They just saw the accomplishment and rewarded it. Funny how that worked. Jessica kept me updated without me asking. Every few days, she would text small observations. Aunt Linda was working part-time as a cashier at Target. Uncle Robert had picked up weekend shifts at a warehouse. Emily was contributing $200 a month to rent and complaining about it constantly. My parents had moved to a smaller apartment, 2 bedrooms instead of 3. I read the updates and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt, just distance. On the 4th week, Grandma called. I answered and said hello. Her voice was warm and steady as she asked how I was. I told her I was good, really good actually. She said she was glad to hear that. Then she said she had wanted to call and congratulate me properly. My mother had sent her a photo of my diploma, and Grandma said summa cum laude was exceptional. I thanked her. Then she said she also wanted to apologize for what happened at my graduation and for everything. I sat down on my couch and told her she did not need to apologize. She had not been there. She said no, but she had raised my mother, and she saw her mistakes reflected in her daughter. Then Grandma sighed and told me she had played favorites with her own daughters. Carol had always gotten more attention and more praise. Linda had learned that love was conditional based on achievement and visibility, and then she passed that down to me and Emily. I did not know what to say. Grandma told me I had broken a cycle by standing up for myself and refusing to accept being second best. She said that took courage. I told her maybe it just took being tired. She said sometimes those were the same thing. Then she paused and said my mother was struggling emotionally. She meant that my mother was realizing what she had lost. I said, good. Grandma said she did not think my mother knew how to fix it. She had never been good at admitting when she was wrong. She got defensive instead of apologetic. I told Grandma I had noticed. Grandma said she was not asking me to forgive my mother. She was only asking me to leave the door open eventually when I was ready. I asked what happened if I was never ready. She said then that was my choice and it was valid. She sounded sad but accepting. She told me I did not owe anyone access to my life, not even family. Especially not family who had taken me for granted. We talked for another 20 minutes about my new job, her garden, and neutral topics that felt like relief. Before we hung up, Grandma told me she was proud of me and said she hoped I knew that. I told her I did now. 6 weeks after graduation, I got a letter in the mail, a physical letter, handwritten, from my mother. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. She wrote that she was writing because I had blocked every other way for her to reach me. She said she understood why, but hoped I would read it. She said they had managed to keep the apartment, barely. My father was working extra shifts. She had gotten a part-time job. Emily was contributing what she could. It was tight, but they were making it work. Then she wrote that she was not asking for money. She was writing to say she was sorry. She said she was sorry they missed my graduation. She was sorry they prioritized Emily's dinner over my achievement. She was sorry they had taken me for granted for so long. She wrote that I had been right about everything. They had treated me like a bank account instead of a son. They had expected me to be fine without support because I always seemed fine. They had celebrated Emily more because Emily needed it more. Or at least, that was what they told themselves. But I needed it too. I had needed them there, and they had failed me. She said she could not undo it. She could not go back and attend my graduation or celebrate my achievements the way they should have. She could only say she was sorry, and that she was trying to understand how badly they had hurt me. She wrote that she and my father had been talking a lot about their mistakes, about the favoritism, and about taking me for granted. Emily had been talking to a therapist about family dynamics and guilt. They were all trying to be better, even if it was too late for me to see it. She said she did not expect forgiveness. She did not expect me to call, visit, or send money ever again. She just wanted me to know they saw it now, they understood, and they were sorry. She ended by saying she hoped I was doing well, that my new job was everything I wanted, and that I was happy. She signed it, with love. I read it 3 times. It was better than the previous attempts, more honest, less manipulative. But it was also 6 weeks late. 6 weeks after I had needed to hear it. 6 weeks after graduation. 6 weeks after I had already moved on. I put the letter in a drawer and did not respond. 2 months after graduation, I went to dinner with Jessica and her boyfriend. Over appetizers, Jessica told me Aunt Linda had asked if I was coming to Thanksgiving. I nearly choked on my water. I asked if she was serious. She said she was dead serious. My mother had asked Jessica's mom to ask me, like some weird game of telephone. I asked what Jessica told her. She said she told Aunt Linda to ask me herself if she wanted to know. I told her that was a good answer. Then she asked if I was going. I thought about it. Thanksgiving at my parents' apartment probably crowded now that they had downsized. Emily would be there awkward and guilty. My father would try to smooth everything over. My mother would probably swing back and forth between apologetic and defensive. I told Jessica no, I was not going. She said that was fair and asked what I was doing instead. I told her I was going to Friendsgiving with some people from work. She said that sounded way better than forced family time. I told her that was exactly what I thought. Jessica leaned forward and told me that for what it was worth, she believed I had done the right thing. All of it. The rent, the boundaries, the distance. She said they had needed the wake-up call. I asked if it worked. She said she thought so. Aunt Linda was different, now more humble. She talked about me differently, with regret instead of defensiveness. I said, good. Jessica said Emily was different too. She had been strangely quiet at family gatherings. Jessica thought it had finally hit her that she had been complicit in all of it. I said she had been. Jessica picked at her food and said the funny thing was that Emily made less money than she had expected with the promotion. Shift supervisor was mostly more responsibility without much of a pay increase. Emily was stressed all the time. I did not feel bad about that either. 4 months after graduation, I ran into my father by pure chance. I was grocery shopping on a Saturday morning and turned the corner into the cereal aisle. There he was, looking older than I remembered, reading the back of a granola box. He saw me at the same time I saw him. We both froze. Finally, he said my name. I said his. An awkward silence hung between us while other shoppers moved around us. He asked how I was. I told him I was good. Then I asked if he was managing. He set down the granola box and told me he had wanted to call me many times, but he did not know if I would answer. I told him honestly that I probably would not have. He nodded and said that was fair enough. More silence. Then he said he had read my mother's letter, the one she sent me. She had told him what she wrote. I said, okay. He said he agreed with all of it. They had been wrong. They had taken me for granted. They had prioritized the wrong things. Then he looked directly at me and apologized. Truly apologized. I stood there with my shopping basket looking at my father apologizing in the cereal aisle of a grocery store. I said, okay, again. He told me he did not expect forgiveness. He just wanted me to hear it from him, too. He said I deserved better. I deserved parents who showed up. Something in his voice cracked. He cleared his throat. Then he said he had gone to the university website because they posted graduation photos. He found mine. He said I was smiling in my gown holding my diploma, but my eyes looked sad. He realized that was their fault. They had put that sadness there on what should have been one of the happiest days of my life. I did not know what to say. He picked up his granola box again and said he would not keep me. He just wanted me to know they were sorry and that they understood if I never wanted to see them again. He started to walk away. I called after him. He turned around. I told him the new job was going well. I had been promoted again the month before, director level now. His face lit up. He said that was wonderful, director at my age, and that it was impressive. I told him I had worked hard for it. He said he knew I had. I had always worked hard. We stood there in the aisle, not quite bridging the gap, but acknowledging that it existed. Finally, I told him to take care of himself. He told me to take care too, and called me son. He walked away. I finished my shopping, drove home, and did not cry. I did not feel much of anything except tired. 6 months after graduation, I was good. Really good. The new position came with challenges, but also satisfaction. I had made friends at work who became my Friendsgiving crew, my weekend hiking group, my actual support system. I had started dating someone I met at a professional networking event. She knew nothing about my family drama. She just knew me as Daniel, the guy with the MBA who made her laugh. My apartment had become fully mine. I redecorated, I bought new furniture, I hung my diploma in a place of pride. I joined a gym, started woodworking as a hobby, and read books I had been meaning to read for years. I lived my life entirely for myself. And I did not miss them. I did not miss the family dinners. I did not miss the obligations. I did not miss the one-sided relationships. Occasionally, I thought about reconciliation. I wondered if I should reach out, give them another chance, rebuild something. But then I remembered sitting alone at graduation. I remembered the Instagram post. I remembered 4 years of rent payments taken for granted. And I decided I was fine where I was. Jessica invited me to a family barbecue in July. I declined politely. Grandma called on my birthday. We talked for an hour. She did not mention my parents once. Emily sent a message through Jessica asking her to tell me she was really sorry. I did not respond. Some things break and stay broken. Some distances become permanent. And I was learning that it was okay. One evening in late summer, I was sitting on my balcony with a beer watching the sunset when my phone buzzed. It was an email notification from the University Alumni Association. The email congratulated my class for having the highest employment rate and average starting salary in the program's history. They were featuring my cohort in the next newsletter. I smiled. Somewhere out there, my mother might see that newsletter. She might read about successful graduates from my class. She might even see my name listed among notable alumni achievements. Or she might not. She might not care. She might have moved on to celebrating Emily's next small victory. Either way, it did not matter anymore because I had learned the most important lesson of all. You cannot make people value you. You cannot force them to show up for you, celebrate you, or see your worth. All you can do is value yourself. Show up for yourself. See your own worth. And if that means walking away from people who do not, even if they are family, then that is what you do. I paid $81,000 for that lesson. But sitting there on my balcony, in my apartment, with my career, my life, and my freedom, it was worth every penny.